We have to do this show again because we've only got one segment left and we've barely scratched the surface and people are very angry. We haven't got to all of the issues. It's still a one-hour show. We've tried our best. It is entirely possible that all sorts of statements I've made on this show could lead someone to say, I'm really offended by him, I'm going to a Human Rights Commission. It's entirely possible that they will take the case.
No, I would say it's entirely possible that they wouldn't take the case. Frivolous cases usually get dealt with appropriately. They usually do. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. And cases that go to adjudication, by the way, very well-trained adjudicators, not one case that has been judged by a Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, let me finish, has failed to test if it has been appealed.
What about...
So, I mean, that has to say something.
But what about the financial costs? Again, in the court of law, the people who are accused...
We're in full agreement. There has to be a system set up to ensure that people who are charged with this.
What is that system?
Well,
natural justice.
You know,
we have a system of natural justice. You're entitled, you in the system, I'm just trying to answer your question, because it is the right question. You know, you're entitled to know your accuser in natural justice. And it's not fair that your accuser should have a financial advantage over you. Okay. That's not right. So that is one of the things, presumably, in this report that will be addressed. And so I hope Ezra Levant gets all his money back. You know, not that he seems to need any.
But that's great and all. And I mean, I'm glad that you believe that he should be made whole. But the fact of the matter is that this type of thing causes a chill. It makes somebody like myself, and I will admit, I am very, very critical of political Islam. And more so than I've been open to on my show on the Western Standard and on my blog. And I have to sit here and think. I have to sit here and think about whether or not I'm going to face legal consequences.
I don't. With the Stein case.
It's odd because I don't. I mean, I've never. We do all sorts of shows on this subject. I think we have most Muslim leaders and it was El Masri on this show who made the comment about the Enlightenment one about killing all Israelis. Oh, exactly. But I have to say. Now, if I felt that I wanted to come on here and say all Muslims are, we had, I'm not going to say her name, but an individual who came on and said all Muslims are, made some ludicrous comment. She was banned from the show, not because so much of what she said, but it devalued the show. We became Neanderthal. There was no room for debate. But I've never said, I'm not going to say that I could be in trouble. I've always expressed my opinion. Are we imposing too much self-censorship? No, that in itself is a problem, because if we are, there's a reason why we're doing it.
I think there's an enormous chill. And I think you've got a major network behind you, which Mike doesn't.
They're not that major.
There's a big difference between... How does one prove the chill? Well, you've got somebody sitting at this table right here.
And I'm saying to you that as a result...
There's one other thing that I wanted to address that I think is really important. You talked about two of the groups that feel like they're really under the gun right now. They feel like they're particularly vulnerable, and they've been putting out human rights complaints. The one you said was the Muslim community, and the other was the gay community. Let's clarify something. The gay community, when the Pastor Bazan in Alberta made the most horrible homophobic statements in a letter to the editor in the Red Deer Advocate in Alberta, when he did that, the gay community's #1 advocacy group came out and said... EGAL. They came out and said, we of all people understand how important expression is to protect our rights. We understand how worrying censorship is in a variety of contexts, including pornography. We're the ones who keep getting subjected to all kinds of censorship. We are not going to come out and say and support this complaint against him.
And one of the leaders of the GAL said to me on this show that if he had his way, any church that opposed gay marriage would lose their charitable status. So there are lots of nuances here.
Lots of different opinions within
We will do the show. I've got a break. We must do the show again. There's so much more to discuss. Back in a few moments for emails and goodbyes and that sort of thing.